What would you do if they sent you this photo of your husband, bleeding, unconscious, guns to his head, and gave you just 48 hours? Surrender yourself and let your children be publicly branded illegitimate, or refuse. And watch the love of your life die while your babies keep asking, "When is Daddy coming home?" Isabella had survived alone for 3 years. Now she'd discover exactly what she was capable of, when survival meant war. The photo arrived at 2:17 a.m. Minho, her husband, unconscious on cold concrete, blood pooling under his head, guns pointed at him from every direction. Isabella's hands trembled, but her voice came out steady. "I'm going to meet them." Jiwoo's head snapped toward her. "Absolutely not. Mrs. Kang, that's exactly what they want. I know what they want." Isabella looked up, and something in her expression made him step back. "They want me gone. They want the children declared illegitimate. They want Minho to forget we ever existed." She straightened, decision crystallizing with brutal clarity. "So I'll give them what they want. In exchange for his life. Minho would never forgive me if I let you do this." "Minho isn't here." Her voice cracked on his name. "He's bleeding in some warehouse because he chose us. Because he fought for our family. Now it's my turn to fight for him." Jiwoo ran a hand through his hair, clearly torn between loyalty to Minho and respect for Isabella's determination. "If you walk in there, they could kill you both. Use you as leverage to force him into anything. Then make sure that doesn't happen." Isabella moved toward the door. "Contact them. Tell them I'm coming. Tell them I'll sign whatever they want. Disappear wherever they demand. Just let him go." "Mrs. Kang, that's an order, Jiwoo." She paused, hand on the doorframe. "And when Minho gets out, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I love him. Tell him our children will know their father was the bravest man I ever met." She walked out before he could argue further, heading to the nursery where Mina slept peacefully. Isabella picked up her daughter, breathing in that sweet baby scent, memorizing the weight of her in her arms. The boys found her there 10 minutes later, faces worried. "Mama, why are you crying?" Kai asked, small hand reaching for her cheek. Isabella gathered all 3 boys close, Mina nestled between them. "Mama has to go help your father. But I need you to be very brave while I'm gone, okay? Can you do that for me?" "Is Daddy hurt?" Leo's voice trembled. "He's going to be fine." She kissed each small forehead. "Because we're a family, and families protect each other. Always." Ethan wrapped arms around her neck. "Come back, Mama, promise." The words stuck in her throat, but she forced them out. "I promise, baby, I promise." An hour later, Isabella sat in the back of a car driven by one of Jiwoo's men, heading toward Incheon. She'd changed into simple clothes, removed all jewelry except her wedding ring. The message had come back quickly. The kidnappers would meet her at the warehouse alone at midnight. Jiwoo had wanted to send a tactical team, plant snipers, prepare an ambush, but Isabella refused. If they sensed a trap, Minho would pay the price. "Mrs. Kang," the driver said quietly as they approached the warehouse district. "There's still time to turn back. Keep driving." The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and abandoned. Exactly the kind of place nightmares happened. The car stopped a block away, and Isabella climbed out on shaking legs. "I'll be waiting here," the driver said. "Any sign of trouble, I'm calling for backup." Isabella nodded, too terrified to speak. She walked toward the warehouse alone, every step feeling like walking toward her own execution. But Minho was in there, bleeding, suffering. Because of her. The warehouse door stood slightly open. She pushed through into darkness cut by a single overhead light. And there, chained to a support beam in the center of the space, was her husband. Minho's head lifted at the sound of her entrance. His eyes widened with horror and rage. No, Isabella, what did you do?" She ran to him, ignoring the shadows moving in the periphery, falling to her knees beside him. His face was bruised, blood dried on his temple and cheek. But he was alive, breathing whole. "I couldn't let them kill you," she whispered, hands gentle on his battered face. "I couldn't. You stupid, beautiful, impossible woman." His voice broke. "You should have stayed with the children. Should have let Jiwoo handle this. Should have chosen myself over you." She kissed him softly, tasting blood and salt. "Never. You've protected us from the beginning. Let me protect you this once." "How touching," a voice interrupted from the shadows. A man stepped into the light. Older, dressed in expensive traditional clothing, face cold with satisfaction. The foreigner comes to save her husband. How very romantic. Isabella stood slowly, positioning herself between the man and Minho. I'm here, let him go. In time. The man circled them slowly. First, we discuss terms. You disappear. Take your half-breed children and vanish. Minho divorces you, declares the children illegitimate, and marries properly. A nice Korean girl from a good family. Never. Minho's voice came out deadly despite his chains. I'll die first. That can be arranged. The man smiled coldly. But I don't think your wife wants that. Do you, Mrs. Kang? Isabella's mind raced. She'd come here prepared to sacrifice everything. Her marriage, her place in Minho's life, even contact with him, if it meant he'd survive. But looking at him now, seeing the desperation and fury in his eyes, she realized something crucial. He'd rather die than lose her, rather die than go back to a world without their family, and she'd rather fight than surrender what they'd built. No, she said quietly. The man's eyebrows rose. No? No, I don't accept your terms. Isabella's voice strengthened. You think I'm weak because I'm foreign. Think I'm some distraction Minho will forget once I'm gone. But you're wrong. She moved closer to the man, ignoring Minho's warning growl behind her. I've spent 3 years alone, raising triplets in a country that wasn't mine, working 2 jobs, fighting every day to give them a good life. I've faced down social workers trying to take my children, survived on 4 hours of sleep a night, learned a new language while pregnant with 3 babies. Her hands clenched into fists. So no, I'm not weak. I'm not some soft thing you can dismiss. I'm a mother, I'm a wife. And I will burn down anyone who tries to take my family from me. Silence fell, broken only by Minho's ragged breathing. The man studied her with new interest. Brave words from someone surrounded by my men. Your men are cowards hiding in shadows. Isabella didn't break eye contact. Real strength doesn't come from chains and threats. It comes from protecting what you love, even when it costs everything. Isabella, Minho warned, don't provoke them. Why not? She glanced back at him. They're going to kill us anyway if we surrender. At least this way we go down fighting. The man laughed, but it held no humor. You have spirit. I can see why Minho was willing to throw away his empire for you. He stepped closer. But spirit doesn't stop bullets. Neither do chains. A new voice cut through the warehouse, and Isabella's heart stopped. Jiwoo emerged from the darkness, gun raised, flanked by a dozen armed men. Let them go, now. The kidnapper's expression shifted to fury. You were supposed to come alone. I did, Isabella said. But did you really think my husband's people would let me walk into a trap without backup? Minho's chain suddenly snapped. Pre-cut, Isabella realized. Weakened just enough that he could break free when needed. He surged to his feet, pulling Isabella behind him as chaos erupted. The next minutes blurred into violence. Gunfire echoed through the warehouse, men shouted. Isabella pressed against Minho's back as he shielded her, his body her only protection as bullets flew past. Jiwoo and his team moved with brutal efficiency, taking down kidnappers with practiced precision. The older man tried to run but found his exit blocked. He pulled a gun, aiming directly at Isabella. Minho moved faster than thought, shoving her aside as the shot rang out. Time seemed to stop. Minho stumbled, hand going to his side where blood bloomed dark against his shirt. Isabella screamed, catching him as his legs buckled. They went down together, his weight crushing her as more gunfire erupted overhead. No, no, no. She pressed hands against the wound, feeling hot blood pulse between her fingers. Minho, stay with me, please stay with me. His eyes found hers, already going hazy with shock. The boys You're taking care of them. Her voice broke. You're their father. You don't get to leave us, I won't let you. Jiwoo appeared above them, the warehouse suddenly quiet. We need to move. Now. They loaded Minho into a car, Isabella cradling his head in her lap as the driver raced toward the nearest hospital. His blood soaked through her clothes, warm and terrifying. His breathing came shallow and rapid. I love you, she whispered over and over. I love you so much, you can't leave me. We just found each other again. Please, Minho, please hold on. His hand found hers, grip weak but present. Love you, he managed, always. The hospital materialized through her tears. Doctors and nurses swarmed, pulling Minho from her arms despite her protests. Someone, Jiwoo maybe, guided her to a waiting room while surgical teams rushed her husband away. Isabella collapsed into a plastic chair, covered in Minho's blood, shaking uncontrollably. This couldn't be happening. She'd come to save him, and now he might die anyway because he'd protected her. Because he'd thrown himself in front of a bullet meant for her. Hours crawled by. Jiwoo brought her coffee she couldn't drink, updates she couldn't process. The boys and Minho were safe at the compound. The kidnappers were dead or captured. The threat was neutralized. But none of that mattered if Minho didn't survive. Dawn broke through waiting room windows when a surgeon finally emerged, face exhausted. "Mrs. Kang?" Isabella stood on trembling legs. He's alive." The bullet missed major organs, but he lost a lot of blood. The next 24 hours are critical. Relief and terror warred in her chest. "Can I see him?" "He's in recovery, not conscious yet. But yes, you can sit with him." The recovery room was sterile and cold, full of beeping machines and antiseptic smell. Minho lay too still in the hospital bed, face pale, tubes and wires connecting him to various monitors. Isabella sank into the chair beside him, taking his hand carefully. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere. You saved me again. Now let me be here while you heal." She stayed there as morning turned to afternoon, refusing food or rest, just holding his hand and willing him to wake up. Jiwoo checked in periodically with updates. The elder king was demanding to see his son. The council wanted assurances. Rival organizations sensed vulnerability. Isabella barely heard him. All that mattered was the steady beep of Minho's heart monitor, the rise and fall of his chest, the warmth of his hand in hers. As evening approached, his fingers twitched. Isabella leaned forward, hardly breathing. Minho? His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. Then they found her face, and something like relief flooded his expression. "You're alive," he rasped. "So are you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You stupid, brave, impossible man. You took a bullet for me. Would do it again." His hand tightened on hers. "1,000 times over. Don't you dare." She kissed his knuckles. "Our children need their father. I need my husband. You don't get to be a hero if it means leaving us." A ghost of his smile appeared, bossy, terrified. She rested her forehead against his shoulder carefully. "I thought I lost you. When you went down, when I saw the blood, I thought my heart stopped. I'm okay." His free hand came up to stroke her hair. "We're okay, are we?" Isabella pulled back to look at him. "Minho, I came to trade myself for you. I was ready to disappear, to give up everything we built, if it meant you'd live." Something fierce flashed in his eyes. "Don't ever do that again. Then don't ever get kidnapped again." Despite everything, he laughed, then winced. "Don't make me laugh. Hurts. Sorry." She kissed him softly, carefully. "I love you. So much it terrifies me." "I know the feeling." His thumb brushed away her tears. "We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both willing to die for each other. Maybe we should focus on living for each other instead." "Deal." He closed his eyes briefly, exhaustion clear. "The boys?" "Safe, missing their father." "Mina's been crying." Isabella settled more comfortably beside him. "Your father wants to see you." "The council is having fits. Jiwoo says half the organization is ready to go to war over what happened." "Let them wait." Minho's grip on her hand remained firm. "Right now, all I care about is this, you and me. Making sure you know that what I said in that warehouse is true. I'd rather die than lose you." "No dying," Isabella said firmly. "We're going to grow old together. Watch our children graduate and get married and give us grandchildren. We're going to have the boring, beautiful, impossibly domestic life we've earned." "Sounds perfect." His eyes drifted closed again. "Stay? Forever." She kissed his forehead. "Sleep. I'll be right here when you wake up." The next few days passed in careful recovery. Minho improved steadily, his natural strength and stubbornness speeding the healing process. The boys visited, carefully climbing onto his bed to hug him gently. Mina cooed in his arms. And Isabella rarely left his side except when doctors insisted. Jiwoo delivered news that the warehouse attack had actually strengthened Minho's position. The younger generation saw Isabella's courage and loyalty, saw Minho's willingness to die for his family, and rallied around them with new fervor. A week after the shooting, Minho was cleared to go home. Isabella helped him into the car, fussing over pillows and comfort, while he smiled at her indulgently. "I can walk, you know. You can also rest and let your wife take care of you." She buckled his seatbelt like he was one of the children. Doctor's orders. Pretty sure the doctor didn't say anything about treating me like an invalid. He implied it. Isabella climbed in beside him. Don't argue with me when I'm being protective. It's not attractive. Minho caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. Everything you do is attractive. The compound appeared through the car windows. Home and safety after the nightmare of the past week. The children waited at the entrance, barely contained by their grandmother's restraining hands. The moment the car stopped, they rushed forward. Daddy! Minho climbed out carefully, mindful of his healing wound, and sank to his knees as his sons crashed into him. Mina was passed to Isabella, but she reached for her father with grabby hands until he took her too, surrounded by the family he'd nearly died protecting. I missed you, Kai said seriously. I missed you more. Minho kissed each small head. But Daddy's home now, and I'm not going anywhere. Isabella watched them, throat tight with emotion. This was everything they'd fought for. This moment of peace, of family, of love strong enough to survive anything. That evening, after the children were asleep and Minho was settled in their bed, Isabella curled against his uninjured side carefully. What are you thinking? He asked quietly. That we're lucky to be alive. That I never want to come that close to losing you again. She traced patterns on his chest. That maybe it's time to step back. Let someone else run things while we focus on the children. Minho was quiet for a long moment. I've been thinking the same thing. This life, it's dangerous. And now that I have you and the boys and Mina, the idea of something happening, of them growing up without me. So we change it. Isabella propped herself up to look at him. Not overnight, but gradually. We build something safer, more legitimate. Give our children a future that doesn't involve warehouses and bullets. You'd be okay with that? Giving up the power, the influence? She laughed softly. I never wanted power. I just wanted you. Wanted our family to be safe and happy and together. Then that's what we'll build. He pulled her closer, kissing her deeply. A life where the biggest danger is toddler tantrums and teenage rebellion. Sounds perfect. They lay together in comfortable silence, healing and whole and home. Outside, guards patrolled and security systems monitored. But inside this room, there was only peace. 3 months later, Isabella stood in the bathroom staring at a pregnancy test with shaking hands. After everything they'd been through, the kidnapping, the shooting, the slow recovery and careful rebuilding of their life, she hadn't been thinking about expanding their family. But apparently life had other plans. Minho found her there, took one look at her face and the test, and his expression shifted through shock to joy, to something like reverence. Really? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I don't know how. We've been so careful, and with everything that happened, life finds a way. He sank to his knees in front of her, hands gentle on her still flat stomach. Another baby, another piece of us. Are you happy? Isabella asked. I know things have been complicated, and adding another child, I'm ecstatic. He looked up at her, eyes bright. You've given me everything, Isabella. A family, a purpose, a reason to be better than I was. Another child is just more proof that we were meant for this. She pulled him to his feet, kissing him with joy and relief and love. The boys are going to be so excited. Mina too, once she's old enough to understand. His hands cradled her face. Thank you. For this. For them. For everything. Thank you for not giving up on us. Isabella rested her forehead against his. For fighting for our family even when it cost you everything. It cost me nothing. Minho's voice was fierce. Everything I gave up was worthless compared to what I gained. You're my world, Isabella. You and our children. That's all that matters. They told the boys that evening, watching their faces light up with excitement at the prospect of another sibling. Kai immediately started planning how to teach the baby about sharks. Leah worried whether they'd have enough penguin books. Ethan calculated how many jellyfish facts he could share. Mina just clapped her hands and laughed, not understanding but feeding off her brother's joy. Later, after the children were asleep and Minho and Isabella lay tangled together in their bed, she voiced the fear she'd been holding back. What if something happens during the pregnancy? After last time, after everything, nothing's going to happen. Minho's hand splayed protectively over her stomach. I won't let it. We have the best doctors, the safest compound, an entire organization watching over you. This baby is going to be born healthy and perfect, just like you. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed her deeply. I've fought too hard for this family to lose any piece of it now. We're going to have this baby, raise all our children, and live the beautiful, boring domestic life we both earned. Isabella wanted to believe him. But somewhere in the back of her mind, old fears whispered. The world they lived in was still dangerous, still complicated. Minho had stepped back from daily operations, but he was still a powerful man with powerful enemies. And their family was still a target. 2 months later, as Isabella's pregnancy became visible and the children grew more excited, reality proved her fears justified. She was in the garden with Minho when Jiwoo appeared, his expression grim in a way that made her blood run cold. Mrs. Kang, we have a situation. Isabella's hand went protectively to her stomach. What kind of situation? Intelligence suggests someone's planning another move against your family. Jiwoo's jaw tightened. Someone with resources and motivation. Someone who sees Minho's transition to legitimate business as weakness. Who? We don't know yet. But Mrs. Kang, he hesitated. They're specifically targeting you and the children. Not Minho, you. The garden spun around her. After everything they'd survived, after all the promises of safety and normalcy, it was happening again. The endless cycle of threats and fear and violence that came with loving a man like Minho. Does he know? She asked quietly. I'm telling him now. He's going to want you and the children moved to a secure location immediately. No, the word came out firm. I'm not running, not again. I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of hiding. Tired of letting these people control our lives. Jiwoo looked uncomfortable. With respect, Mrs. Kang, you're pregnant. The children are exactly why I'm not backing down. Isabella stood. Mina balanced on her hip. Someone will always see us as a weakness. Will always think they can use us to control Minho. When does it end, Jiwoo? When do we get to just live? When the threats are neutralized. Then neutralize them. Her voice turned cold. Find out who's behind this. End it permanently. She walked past him toward the house, toward Minho, toward the confrontation she knew was coming. Because she was done being protected, done being the soft thing that needed shielding. It was time to remind the world that she'd survived 3 years alone with triplets, had walked into a warehouse to trade herself for her husband's life, had stood in front of guns and refused to back down. Isabella Kang wasn't a weakness. She was the most dangerous thing in Minho's world, and anyone who threatened her family was about to learn that the hard way. Minho stood at his office window overlooking the compound, Jiwoo's report weighing heavily between them. Another threat. Another group thinking they could leverage Isabella and the children. Another nightmare that made his hands shake with suppressed violence. We need to move them, Jiwoo said quietly. Tonight. The safe house in Jeju, she won't go. Minho's voice came out flat. Then make her understand. You don't make Isabella understand anything. A bitter laugh escaped him. She'll dig her heels in, remind me she's not helpless, probably threaten to handle it herself. As if summoned by his words, the office door opened. Isabella stood there, Mina on her hip, eyes blazing with determination he recognized all too well. We need to talk. Jiwoo made himself scarce. Minho turned to face his wife, reading the stubborn set of her jaw, the protective hand on their daughter, the slight swell of her stomach under her dress. You heard. I heard. Isabella set Mina down carefully, letting the toddler toddle toward her toy corner. And before you start, I'm not running, I'm not hiding. I'm not spending another 6 months locked away while you fight battles that are as much mine as yours. Isabella, they're targeting me because they think I'm soft. Easy, your weakness. She moved closer, voice dropping low and dangerous. Let me show them exactly how wrong they are. Fear clutched his chest. What are you suggesting? That we stop playing defense. Isabella's eyes met his steadily. You've spent 3 years protecting me. Let me stand beside you this time. Let me prove I'm not some fragile thing that needs constant guarding. You're pregnant. I'm pregnant, not helpless. She took his hand, placing it on her stomach. This baby, our children, this family, they're worth fighting for. I understand that now. I've always understood it. But you can't fight alone anymore, Minho. You're going to burn yourself out trying to shield us from every threat. He pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the steady beat of her heart against his. I'm terrified of losing you, any of you. After the warehouse, after seeing you covered in my blood. I know. Her arms tightened around him. But hiding isn't living, and I'm tired of being afraid. Minho pulled back enough to see her face. What do you want to do? Find out who's behind this. Confront them, end it. Isabella's expression hardened with something he'd rarely seen. Cold determination that reminded him she'd survived years alone in a foreign country. Together as partners, not as protector and protected. Something shifted in his chest. He'd spent so long seeing Isabella as someone to shield. Someone precious who needed defending. But she was right. She'd never been weak. She'd been a survivor long before she met him, and he'd fallen in love with that strength as much as her softness. Together, he agreed quietly. But you follow my lead on security. You don't take unnecessary risks. And if things get dangerous, I'll be smart. She kissed him softly, I promise. But I won't hide anymore. The investigation took 3 days. Jiwoo's network of informants uncovered the threat's source. Park Sang-woo, a former council member who'd opposed Minho's marriage from the beginning. He'd gone underground after the succession vote, gathering support from other traditionalists, building resources for one final play to remove Isabella and restore proper order. The intelligence made Minho's blood boil. He's been planning this for months. While we thought we were safe, while Isabella was pregnant, he saw opportunity, Jiwoo finished grimly. Thought you'd be distracted, vulnerable. He was right about the distracted part. Minho's hands clenched, but wrong about the outcome. Where is he? Operating out of a compound in Gangwon province. Remote, heavily guarded. He's got maybe 24 men loyal to him. Isabella appeared in the doorway, having heard everything. Then we go there. We end this face to face. Absolutely not. Minho's voice came out sharp. You're staying here with the children where it's safe. We agreed. We agreed you'd be smart about risks. He crossed to her, hands gentle despite his anger. Walking into an armed compound isn't smart, Isabella. It's suicide. Then what do you suggest? Her voice rose. Waiting for him to strike first? Spending the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? I suggest I handle Park while you stay safe. Like you handled the warehouse situation? The words came out harsh. Minho, I love you, but your solution to everything is throwing yourself in danger while everyone else hides. That's not sustainable. They stared at each other. Frustration and fear and love tangled between them. Finally, Jiwoo cleared his throat. There might be another option. Both of them turned to look at him. Park thinks Isabella is your weakness. Jiwoo continued carefully. What if we use that? Let him think you're desperate enough to negotiate. Arrange a meeting on neutral ground. Let him see that attacking your family only makes you more dangerous, not less. Minho's jaw tightened, but he didn't immediately refuse. Isabella could see his mind working through angles, assessing risks. He'd never agree to meet in Seoul, Minho said finally. Too much our territory. So we suggest Suwon. Public place witnesses enough of both your people and his to feel secure. Jiwoo pulled up a map on his tablet. There's a traditional restaurant there, private rooms, but busy enough that violence would be noticed. And what exactly are we negotiating? Isabella asked. Nothing. Minho's voice turned cold. We make him think we're willing to compromise. Get him in a position where he's vulnerable. Then we end this threat permanently. Something in his tone made Isabella shiver. This was the dangerous man underneath the devoted father and loving husband. The one who'd built an empire on ruthlessness and calculated violence. She'd always known he existed, but seeing him surface was both terrifying and necessary. I'm coming, she said firmly. If we're using me as bait, I need to be there. Not bait, never bait. Minho caught her face in his hands. A show of strength, proof that we're united. That threatening you only brings down fire. Then let's bring the fire. The meeting was arranged for the following week, giving them time to prepare. Minho drilled Isabella on what to say, how to read Park's body language, when to stay silent and let him handle negotiations. Jiwoo positioned security throughout the restaurant and surrounding area. The boys sensed something was wrong despite their parents' efforts to seem normal. Kai grew clingy. Leo asked repeated questions about when Daddy would be home. Ethan watched everything with worried eyes that looked too old for his small face. The night before the meeting, Isabella sat with all 3 boys in their bedroom, Mina asleep in the nursery next door. Mama has to go away tomorrow, she said gently. Just for 1 day. Daddy and I have important business. Is it dangerous? Kai asked, small hand gripping hers tightly. Isabella wanted to lie. to reassure them everything was fine. But these were Minho's sons. They deserved honesty, even if carefully delivered. It might be, she admitted. But Daddy is very strong and I'm very smart, and we have lots of people protecting us. We'll be safe. Promise? Leo's voice trembled. I promise. She pulled all three close. And when we come home, things are going to be better. Safer. No more people trying to hurt our family. Because Daddy will beat them up? Ethan asked hopefully. Because Daddy and I are going to make sure they understand we're not afraid anymore. Isabella kissed each small head. Now sleep. We'll see you tomorrow night. She found Minho in their bedroom later, staring at old photos on his phone. Isabella pregnant with the triplets, their wedding day, the boys as newborns. His expression held such longing it made her chest ache. Second thoughts? She asked softly. 1,000 thoughts. He set the phone aside. All of them about how much I have to lose if this goes wrong. Isabella climbed onto the bed beside him, curling into his side. It won't go wrong. You can't know that. I know you. Her hand found his over her stomach. I know you'd tear down heaven and earth to protect us. I know Park underestimates both of us. And I know we're stronger together than anyone expects. Minho turned to face her, expression intense. If anything happens tomorrow, if things go bad, you run. You don't try to fight. Don't try to be brave. You get out and you get to the children. Promise me. Minho, promise me, Isabella. His hands framed her face. I can handle anything except losing you. Our children need their mother more than they need revenge. So promise me you'll run if it comes to that. She wanted to argue, to insist they'd face everything together. But looking into his eyes, seeing the desperate fear there, she couldn't refuse. I promise, but you promise me the same thing. No hero sacrifices, no last stands. We both get out alive. Deal. He kissed her deeply, pouring 3 years of love and devotion into the gesture. I love you more than my own life. More than anything. I love you too. Isabella settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Now let's get some sleep. We have a war to end tomorrow. The restaurant in Suwon was elegant and traditional, all dark wood and private rooms overlooking a koi pond. Minho and Isabella arrived first. Jiwoo and a security team positioned strategically throughout the building. Isabella wore traditional Korean dress again, the formal hanbok making her look regal despite her growing stomach. You're beautiful, Minho murmured as they waited, and terrifying. Park's going to take one look at you and realize he made a huge mistake. That's the plan. Park Sang-woo arrived 20 minutes later with his own security. He was older than Isabella expected, silver-haired and distinguished, looking more like a businessman than a criminal mastermind. But his eyes held cold calculation that made her skin crawl. Minho. Park inclined his head. And the infamous foreign wife. How quaint that you brought her. Isabella is my partner in all things. Minho's voice held warning. She has every right to be part of this conversation. They settled around the low table, tension thick enough to choke on. Park's men stood along the walls, mirroring Jiwoo's positions. Everyone armed, everyone ready for violence. So, Park began, pouring tea with steady hands. You wanted to negotiate. I wanted to understand what you hope to accomplish, Minho corrected. You've been gathering forces, making threats against my family. To what end? To restore order. Park's gaze slid to Isabella dismissively. Your marriage is an insult to tradition. Your half-breed children a mockery of our heritage. I'm simply correcting a mistake. Isabella felt Minho tense beside her, but she spoke before he could. A mistake? Our children are brilliant, loving, beautiful. They'll inherit their father's strength and intelligence, lead this organization into a new era. What about that as a mistake? Everything. Park's expression turned cold. They're diluted, weak, not truly Korean. They're human, Isabella shot back. Worthy of love and respect regardless of who their mother is. If you can't see that, you're the weak one. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Park's men shifted restlessly. Jiwoo's hand moved subtly toward his weapon. Watch your tongue, woman, or what? Isabella leaned forward, all the fear and anger and fierce protectiveness she'd been holding burning in her chest. You'll threaten my children again? Try to force my husband into giving up the family he loves. You already tried that. It didn't work. Isabella, Minho warned softly, but she couldn't stop. You think I'm his weakness? That removing me will restore him to the perfect Korean heir you want him to be. But you're wrong. I'm his strength. Our children are his purpose. We made him better than he was, stronger, smarter, more worthy of leadership than any of you hidebound traditionalists could ever be. Park's face had gone red with rage. I dare everything for my family. Isabella's voice turned deadly quiet. And if you come near my children again, if you threaten one hair on their heads, I will personally ensure you regret being born. Silence fell, broken only by Minho's quiet, disbelieving laugh. I think my wife just threatened to kill you, he said conversationally. Fair warning, she means it. I've seen her protect our family. It's impressive. Park's hands clenched on the table. This is exactly the problem. She's made you soft, sentimental. You used to be ruthless. I'm still ruthless. Minho's smile turned predatory. I've just learned to choose my targets more carefully. And right now, you're at the top of my list. The threat hung between them, clear and undeniable. Park stood slowly, so there's no negotiation. No compromise. None. Minho rose to meet him. You have two choices. Leave Korea and never threaten my family again. Or stay and see exactly how ruthless I can be when protecting what's mine. You can't enforce that. Can't I? Minho's expression turned cold. I still have allies on the council. Still control half the organization's resources. You're operating off old loyalties and traditional hatred. That's not enough to beat me. Park's men shifted nervously. The math was clear. They were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Their leader had overplayed his hand badly. This isn't over, Park hissed. Yes, Isabella said quietly. It is. What happened next unfolded in horrifying slow motion. Park's hand moved toward his jacket. Jiwoo shouted a warning. Minho threw himself in front of Isabella, just as the gun came out. The shot was deafening in the small room. But it never reached its target. One of Jiwoo's men had fired first, Park's gun clattering to the floor as he stumbled back with a shoulder wound. His security moved to protect him. But suddenly they were surrounded by Minho's forces, guns drawn. The situation completely under control. Isabella sat frozen, Minho's body still shielding hers, both of them trembling with adrenaline. He'd been ready to die for her, again, without hesitation. Stand down, Jiwoo commanded Park's men. Your boss just attempted murder in front of a dozen witnesses. You want to go down with him? The security team hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons. Park swore viciously, clutching his bleeding shoulder. It's over, Minho said quietly, pulling Isabella to her feet. You're done, finished, and if you ever come near my family again, next time my people won't aim for your shoulder. Police arrived minutes later, alerted by Jiwoo before the meeting even started. Park was arrested on attempted murder charges. His organization would collapse without leadership. The threat was ended. But Isabella couldn't stop shaking as Minho led her out of the restaurant, couldn't breathe past the terror of how close they'd come to disaster. He tried to kill me, she whispered. In front of everyone. I know. Minho pulled her close. But you're safe. The children are safe. It's over, Isabella. Really over this time. She wanted to believe him, but trauma ran deep. The drive home was silent. Isabella stared out the window, processing everything that had happened. Minho held her hand, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm. You were incredible in there, he said finally. The way you stood up to him didn't back down. I was terrified and proud in equal measure. I was just angry. Isabella's voice came out hollow. Angry he thought he could take you from us. Angry he saw our children as mistakes. Angry that we can't just be happy without someone trying to destroy it. I know, he kissed her temple. But that's done now. Park's finished. His supporters will scatter. The council will settle down. We can finally have the peace we've been fighting for. Isabella wanted to believe him. Desperately wanted to trust that this was really the end. But deep down, she wondered if peace was ever truly possible in Minho's world. They arrived home to find the boys still awake despite the late hour, refusing to sleep until their parents returned. The moment Isabella and Minho walked through the door, all three children rushed them. You're home! Kai threw arms around Minho's legs. We were so worried, Leo added, clinging to Isabella. Ethan just pressed his face against his mother's stomach, where his baby sibling grew, seeking reassurance in the steady proof of life. Isabella sank to her knees, gathering all three close. We're safe, everything's okay. The bad people can't hurt us anymore. Promise? Kai asked. She looked up at Minho, seeing him kneel beside them, strong arms encompassing their entire family. Promise. That night, After the children finally slept and Mina was settled in her crib, Isabella and Minho lay in their bed holding each other. The adrenaline had faded, leaving only exhaustion and relief. "What happens now?" Isabella asked softly. "Now we live." Minho's hand splayed protectively over her stomach. "We raise our children. We watch them grow. We build the boring, beautiful life we've earned. And if more threats appear, then we face them together." He kissed her deeply. "But I'm done letting fear control us. Done putting our lives on hold waiting for the next attack. We've fought too hard to not enjoy what we've won." Isabella nodded against his chest. Together, always. They fell asleep tangled in each other, safe and whole and home. 5 months later, Isabella went into labor on a Tuesday afternoon. Minho rushed her to the hospital. The boys and Mina left with trusted staff, Jiwoo coordinating security that had become second nature. The delivery was easier than the triplets, 1 baby instead of 3, her body knowing what to expect this time. And when their daughter was born, tiny and perfect with Isabella's eyes and Minho's nose, everything else fell away. "She's beautiful," Minho whispered, cradling his newborn daughter with reverent hands. "Absolutely perfect," Isabella smiled through exhausted tears. "What should we name her?" They'd discussed names for months but never settled on one. Now, looking at their daughter's peaceful face, Minho said softly, "Hope. Her name is Hope." "Hope," Isabella repeated. The name felt right, a symbol of everything they'd survived, everything they'd built, everything their future held. "Hope Kang, I love it." The boys were allowed to visit that evening, carefully climbing onto Isabella's hospital bed to meet their baby sister. Mina toddled over, fascinated by the tiny bundle. "She's so small," Leo said wonderingly. "You were that small once," Minho told him. "All of you were. Can we keep her?" Kai asked seriously. Isabella laughed. "Yes, we're keeping her. She's part of our family now." Ethan touched Hope's tiny hand with 1 finger. "I'll protect her from everything bad." Minho and Isabella exchanged glances over their children's heads. Their sons already understood what it meant to be part of this family. The love and the danger, the joy and the responsibility. But looking at all 5 of their children together, whole and safe and beautiful, Isabella finally believed they'd made it. They'd survived everything thrown at them and come out stronger. 2 days later, they brought Hope home to the compound. Life settled into a new normal. Sleepless nights with a newborn, the boys adjusting to being big brothers again. Mina fascinated by the baby who cried so much. Minho had fully transitioned out of day-to-day operations, leaving Jiwoo to handle most organizational business while he focused on family. They were working toward legitimacy, legal enterprises, proper business licenses, leaving the criminal world behind. It was slow work, but for the first time, the future looked bright instead of dangerous. 6 months after Hope's birth, Isabella stood in their bedroom nursing the baby while watching through the window as Minho played with the older children in the garden. Kai, Leo, and Ethan chased each other around while Mina toddled after them, squealing with delight. Minho refereed their games, laughing freely in a way he rarely had when they first met. This was everything she'd dreamed of during those lonely years raising the triplets alone. This was the family she'd ached for, the partner she'd thought she'd lost, the life she'd been too afraid to hope for. Hope finished nursing and Isabella held her close, breathing in that sweet baby scent. Through the window, she watched Minho scoop up Mina, spinning her until she giggled. The boys tackled his legs, bringing him down to the grass in a pile of limbs and laughter. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jiwoo. Park's trial concluded. 15 years, it's really over. Isabella read the words 3 times, letting them sink in. Over the last threat eliminated. No more enemies gathering in shadows. No more midnight evacuations or security lockdowns. Just life, beautiful, ordinary, impossible life. Minho appeared in the doorway moments later, grass-stained and breathless, eyes bright with joy. The boys want to know if we can have a picnic dinner in the garden. I told them I'd ask the queen of the household. The queen says yes, Isabella smiled, but only if the king helps set up. He crossed to her, kissing her softly before pressing a kiss to Hope's sleeping head. Have I told you today that I love you? Only 3 times. You're slacking. Then let me remedy that. He pulled her close, careful of the baby between them. I love you, Isabella Kang. I love the family we've built. I love the life we're living. I love that our biggest crisis today was Kai and Leo fighting over who gets to hold the soccer ball. That is a serious crisis, Isabella teased. Extremely serious, his expression softened. But it's the kind of crisis I dreamed about during those months without you. The normal, boring, beautiful problems of family life. She rested her head against his shoulder. We made it, we really made it. We did. His arms tightened around them both. And I promise you, Isabella, I'm never taking this for granted, not one single day. That evening, they spread blankets in the garden as the sun set gold and pink across the sky. The boys ran around playing tag while Mina practiced walking between her parents. Hope slept in Minho's arms, tiny and perfect and whole. Isabella unpacked the picnic basket. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches and fruit and the boys' favorite snacks. Normal food for a normal family dinner. Mama, watch. Kai did a cartwheel that ended in a tumble. Very impressive, she called back laughing. Leo came running over. Can we have a baby sister after Hope? Or maybe a brother? Minho choked on his water. Isabella patted his back, grinning. Let's see how we handle 5 children first, okay? But 6 would be better, Ethan added seriously. Then we'd have even numbers for teams. Your mother is not a baby factory, Minho said, recovering, though his eyes met Isabella's with unmistakable heat. But we can discuss it much later, when Hope is at least 5. The boys groaned dramatically, but were quickly distracted by the appearance of dessert. Mina climbed into Isabella's lap, sticky fingers grabbing at strawberries. As darkness fell and stars appeared overhead, Minho built a small fire in the garden pit. The children roasted marshmallows, faces glowing in the firelight, voices rising in excited chatter. I want to be like Daddy when I grow up, Kai announced suddenly. Strong and brave and protect people. Me too, Leo echoed. Me 3, Ethan added. Minho's expression went soft with emotion. You 3 are already brave, already strong, already everything I could hope for. What about me? Mina demanded, not wanting to be left out. You're going to be unstoppable, Isabella told her daughter. Just like your mama. Minho caught her hand, lacing their fingers together. In his eyes she saw everything they'd survived. The separation, the reunion, the danger, the fear, the impossible journey that had brought them here. But more than that, she saw their future. Saw years of moments like this one. Saw their children growing up safe and loved and whole. Saw herself and Minho growing old together, silver-haired and surrounded by grandchildren, still holding hands and stealing kisses like teenagers. What are you thinking? He asked softly. That I'd do it all again. Isabella smiled through sudden tears. Every scary moment, every impossible choice, every sacrifice, I'd do it all again for this. For us? So would I. He pulled her closer, Hope nestled between them, their other children playing nearby. 1,000 times over, you're my everything, Isabella. You and these 5 perfect miracles. Later, after the children were asleep and Hope was settled in her bassinet, Isabella and Minho stood on their bedroom balcony overlooking the compound. Guards still patrolled, security still monitored, but the threat level felt different now. Manageable, normal. Jiwoo sent the final report on Park, Minho said quietly. His organization completely collapsed. The few remaining traditionalists have either retired or come around to supporting us. So it's really over. It's really over. He turned her to face him, hands gentle on her waist. We can be boring now. Suburban parents worried about school districts and birthday parties. No more warehouses or bullets or midnight escapes. Isabella pretended to consider. I don't know. Sounds pretty wild. Have you seen how competitive other parents get at school functions? He laughed, the sound free and genuine. Then I guess we'll have to face that danger together. Together, she agreed, rising on tiptoes to kiss him. Always together. They made love that night with the tenderness of people who'd fought too hard to take each other for granted. Every touch was gratitude. Every kiss a promise. Every whispered I love you, a victory over everything that had tried to tear them apart. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Isabella felt peace settle over her like a blanket. This was home, this was safety, this was the life they'd built from the ashes of impossible odds. Thank you, Minho whispered into the darkness. For what? For not giving up on us. For being brave enough to let me back into your life. For giving me these incredible children. for loving me despite everything I am." Isabella pressed closer to him. "Thank you for fighting for us, for choosing love over empire, for being the father our children deserve, for proving that even the most dangerous man can have the softest heart." They fell asleep like that, tangled together, whole and healed and home. 3 years later, Isabella stood in the same garden where they'd had that picnic, watching Minho teach 8-year-old Kai how to throw a proper punch. Leo and Ethan practiced nearby, while 4-year-old Mina insisted she was tough enough to join them. 3-year-old Hope sat in Isabella's lap, playing with her mother's hair and chattering about the butterflies landing on nearby flowers. "Mama, look!" Kai's punch landed solidly on Minho's padded hand. "I did it. Perfect form," Minho praised. "But remember, strength isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting the ones you love. Like you protected Mama," Leo said. "Like Mama protected me right back," Minho corrected, meeting Isabella's eyes across the garden. Real strength is partnership. It's standing together even when the world tries to push you apart. Isabella smiled, heart full to bursting. They'd built something beautiful here. A family that knew both love and strength, safety and courage, peace and the willingness to fight for it. Hope tugged on her sleeve. "Mama, are you happy?" Isabella looked at her daughter's sweet face, at her sons practicing with their father, at the home they'd made from impossible circumstances. Looked at Minho catching her gaze and smiling with that rare, devastating warmth reserved only for family. "Yes, baby," she whispered, pressing a kiss to Hope's hair. "Mama is very, very happy." And she was. After everything they'd survived, every battle fought and won, every sacrifice made and honored, Isabella Kang was finally, completely, impossibly happy. The Korean Mafia boss who'd gone pale at an airport, seeing his past collide with his present, had become the devoted father, building a future with the woman he loved. The single mother who'd fled in fear had become the fierce partner who stood beside him through everything. And together they'd proven that love, real, complicated, hard-won love, could survive anything. Even impossible odds, even dangerous worlds, even themselves. Their story had started with heartbreak and ended with healing. Had begun with separation and concluded with the strongest bond imaginable. And as Isabella watched Minho sweep Hope up into his arms, as she heard their children's laughter echoing through the garden, as she felt peace settle deep in her bones, she knew this was the ending they'd always deserved. Not perfect, but theirs. Not easy, but worth it. Not the fairy tale ending from storybooks, but something better, something that would last forever.